Welcome to the Metalhead Nerd Show. Today, I'll talk to Bryan Garner. He hosts the Be More Super, the podcast. We talk about how he got started collecting autographs, what his favorite superhero is, and what his opinion is about superheroes being portrayed in movies versus comics. And he also has some great tips about collecting autographs. So, sit back, relax, and enjoy this conversation. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. 1, is free. 2, there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit podcasts right from your phone or your computer, which I do. I record from my phone. It's really simple. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard from Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and really many more. You can make money from your podcast with no medium listenership. That's pretty cool about this app. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started. I want to say thank you again for doing this, Bryan.
It's all right. It's a pleasure, mate.
Yeah, I've seen that you've been collecting autographs and movie props. How long have you been doing this for?
Oh, wow. So, do you know what? I've been a fan of autographs and props for 20 years because I'm 40 now. I'm getting on a bit. And, I've collected autographs for many years. I've been going to a lot of conventions in the UK, meeting the famous people. And now I've become a collector of everything Superman. So I collect a lot of the high-end autographs like Christopher Reeve's autographs, which are very hard to come by because obviously after his accident in 1995, he hasn't been signing anything. And obviously he sadly died in the early 2000s. So I've been collecting quite a lot of collectible autographs that are worth quite a bit. So yeah, many, many years, Paul.
That is really interesting. So what exactly got you started collecting all of this stuff?
Do you know what? I've always been a fan of the Superman movies since I was a kid, especially the Christopher Reeve movies. And I liked Superman. And then, getting into, the old programs like 24 back in the day with Kiefer Sutherland and all of those. And I just wanted something on the wall. I didn't want just posters. So I went to my first ever Comic Con, which was run by a company called Showmasters in the UK. And it was called Collectomania. And it was in a place called Milton Keynes in the UK, which funnily enough was used for Superman 4 for a lot of the filming outside, because it does look a bit American-ish outside. And that's where I met the cast, couple from the A-Team. So Dwight Schultz and Dirk Benedict that played Face and Murdoch. I met Mini-Me from Austin Powers. And that was it. And that was the bug. I wanted to display them all. And at that time I had, a cool little man room, but now I haven't. So they're all on the landing, all in frames. But I've got a lockup that I keep a lot of my equipment in for my side business. And I've just got literally filing cabinets just full of 11 by 14 signed photos and movie props and you name it. It's like a Aladdin's cave.
Wow. That would be awesome to be in, I bet.
Well, to be honest, it's insured, thank goodness. So every now and again, I've got to go to my unit to check it. So I always check to make sure.
You always have that stuff insured.
Yeah, exactly. It's very hard to insure things like that as well, because the value of it is only as high as one wants to pay when they're buying through the internet, which I shouldn't recommend anyone to do, is don't buy through eBay. Buy from a reputable dealer or someone that you trust.
So, do you have any tips on collecting this kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, years and years ago, about 15 years ago, I bought my first Christopher Reeve autograph. I got it from a company. So bearing in mind, I'm in the UK, and I bought a autograph from a company in New York. I won't say what the company's called because I don't want to cause any issues. But I got the autograph through. I paid, I think, about £500. So it's about $700 for it. Got the autograph through and had it framed professionally. I had it on my wall for 15 years, and it was only about 6 years ago. I joined a group which now I'm an admin on Facebook called Superman the Movie Autograph Collectors, and I got private messaged to be told that it's not real, it's fake, which was heartbreaking. I mean, imagine having something on your wall for like 15 years and then someone say that it actually isn't real. It's a right stab in the heart. So that got me on the mission to study his autograph, study these places that sell these autographs. A lot of these places are recognized by companies like UACC or AFTAL, which are organizations where autograph dealers have got to follow a certain code of conduct to be able to sell autographs. It doesn't mean they're genuine. It just means that they've bought from someone that they know, but it doesn't mean they're genuine. There are companies out there, what we call third-party authenticators. So I don't know if you've ever watched a TV program called Porn Stars that are based in Vegas.
That's my favorite show.
Is it? So
Yes.
I interviewed on my podcast a little while ago Steve Grad, that is the autograph authenticator that they bring in on the show.
He's the main one, isn't he?
He is, yeah. And he actually recorded the podcast for me from the actual shop because he was recording an episode at the time, which was pretty cool. So he works for a company called Beckett. Beckett are a third-party authenticator. They study everything from handwriting techniques, pressure points, slants in the autograph, type of pen used, the photograph, and everything like that. You've also got a company called GSA that are based in New York and Florida, and you've got a company called PSA. I mainly use Beckett and JSA, and I've had quite a lot of my stuff authenticated by Steve Grad himself in person a couple of times when he's come over to the UK. So by doing that, you not only are getting a confirmation that it is genuine, but it increases the value of that product. So if you ever wanted down the line to auction off an autograph in auction, so for example, a Christopher Reeve autograph recently at a company called propstore.com, which are an awesome company. They're my official sponsor for my podcast. They auctioned it off at one of their big auctions, and a Christopher Reeve autograph went for £1,200. So that's roughly $1,400. So, the price is there. If it's authenticated, it increases the price. I would avoid eBay. eBay is just full of fakes. It's horrible to see. But no one would know. I mean, if an average Joe, went on eBay and saw a Chris Reeve autograph for a couple of £100, they'll probably think, well, it's a couple of £100. It's a bit pricey, or $300. It's a bit expensive. So it must be genuine, but it's not. You've got to be very, very careful. You've got to be asking, where has the autograph come from? Do you know when and where it was signed? And do a bit of background checks on the person selling. Alternatively, join groups on Facebook. You've got so many groups on Facebook, like Autographs 101 and Autographs 247, as well as the Superman Autograph Collectors page as well. And they're full of genuine people that you'll get honest advice from them on that page.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's literally my nugget of advice when it comes down to autographs. But it it is a minefield. It really is, because I've got I think 6 Christopher Reeve autographs now in my collection, and I'm really proud of that because I know they're all 100% genuine. But then again, you can always say that unless you were there when they were signed, you never know, and that's true. And autograph collecting is definitely is about trust, and it's about evidence and facts. If it looks like his autograph and it's the style, they can be faked, but it depends where you get it from.
So, what's the process that you have to do to get authenticated since you're in the UK?
Oh, mate.
Many people.
Do you know what? It's always been a pain. Years ago, literally, you'd have to print off a PDF off a computer. You'd have to fill it in. Then you'd have to send your autograph, packaged very, very carefully, over to the States. Then you'd have to pay, obviously, the fee. So depending on what autograph it is, because depending on the star. So, for example, if you were getting a Marlon Brando, good old Godfather authenticated, the price to authenticate that, you're looking at about $50 to $60. Christopher Reeve is I think it's $50 at the moment. So you'd pay the $50, and then what they'll do is they'll authenticate it. They'll say either genuine or not authentic, and then they'll send it back to you, and then you've got to pay for the shipping back, which ends up to be quite pricey because it's got to be insured. So it's about $50, $60. So you're looking at, to get an authentication on an autograph to the States from the UK, roughly about 110, 120 pounds, so about $150. So it's quite pricey. But the great thing is, anyone in the UK, you've got a company called Elite Autographs that's run by a friend called Paul Dunn. And he's mates with Steve Grad as well. So Steve Grad comes over to the UK. Well, not at the moment, because obviously with the coronavirus, all conventions have literally postponed and changed dates. So hopefully Steve Grad will be coming over again, but he comes over about 3 or 4 times a year. And he brings the people from Beckett with him. So you can actually get your autographs authenticated at these conventions. Which is great. So I've had quite a few of mine authenticated while at one of these shows. So it is improving. It's getting better for the UK. And Elite Autographs, run by Paul Dunn, he will do a send-in. So you can send your autographs to him, and he will send them over to the States as a whole. So then you're not paying the massive shipping charges. It's all done in one lot, which is great. But I'd recommend any autograph to be done by Beckett, GSA or PSA for peace of mind and also future value.
Okay. Okay. Obviously, Superman is your favorite hero.
Yes.
I have to ask this. Who is your least favorite?
What, superhero?
Yes.
Everyone apart from Superman. No. To be honest,
hey, I'm a fan.
You know what? It's like that conversation you have where you get people that say they're a Samsung person or an Apple person, and it's the same with me with Superman and Batman. People always say, "Oh, Batman's better than Superman," and I quite like Batman, but I love Superman. I haven't got a superhero that I don't really like. I quite find it quite comical though with superheroes that DC have and Marvel have, and they sort of mirror each other slightly.
They do.
Don't get me wrong, I'm a massive fan of Marvel. I think their movies are awesome, and they're more, I don't know, family friendly. DC's a lot darker, a lot more sort of, your kids can't necessarily watch them all. But yeah, I mean, I haven't got a least favorite, to be honest. I love anything. I mean, the reason why I like Superman is just because of what he stands for. Richard Donner, when he was making the Christopher Reeve movies, he had a sign above his office called, and it was a sign with Superman flying, and underneath it said verisimilitude, which is Latin. and it just translates into truth and honesty, and it's being truthful to
Mm-hmm.
yourself. And I think that's what I like about Superman. Truth, justice, and the American way, as they say. But yeah, I mean, he's the very first superhero, so obviously he's the best.
Uh, I can't exactly remember who came second, to be honest. I believe it was,
It's probably. I mean,
honestly.
I don't know because Jerry Siegel and Joe Schuster obviously came up with Superman. I think it was
Mm-hmm.
1936 off the top of my head. It was very, very early. But I don't know. You know what? People would automatically think Batman because obviously, but Bob Kane that came up with Batman. You know what? Off the top of my head, I don't know what year Batman was invented. I mean,
Batman was created by Bob Kane and Bill Finger in, I want to say, 1939, and got released in Detective Comics. Then Batman officially got his own comic in 42, if I remember right.
yeah, it was May 1939. I've just checked, which is wow. That's like the year of my dad's birth, 1939, the start of World War II.
Yeah, that was like 3 years before my dad.
And I've just checked. It is literally just by 1 month a year after Superman. So Superman was created.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he first appeared in Action Comics in June 1938, which obviously is Action Comics #1. Which, if anyone has got that comic, wow, that is worth a hell of a lot of money.
It is. I have a lot of friends and family that are into Superman, and since I'm into Batman, I like to give them a hard time about it. Say, "Oh, Batman has killed Superman," and tell them like all these different heroes that's killed Superman, and all of these villains that's killed him. But Superman and basically everybody else has killed Batman as well. I just love to give them a hard time because they don't read comics as much as I do and stuff. They don't read.
Well, in a recent
So
poll that was just done, Superman is Americans' favorite superhero. So a poll was just done. So in America, they are the Superman is the number one superhero. So that's all I'm saying. I'm going to leave that there for you. Number one.
Which I 100% agree with that because one, he was the first hero before DC became an actual company. So and he does represent hope. So why not be the favorite?
Exactly. And do you know what? Through the love of Superman, I've got in contact and met so many wonderful people. The original cast of Superman the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm friends with Jeff East that played the teenage Superman in the Chris Reeve movie. The Superman that's running aside of the train. Aaron Smolinski, who plays a toddler that comes out of the actual spaceship as it lands. And I've had the pleasure in the past to meet Margot Kidder a couple of times as well. Hence, that's why my daughter's called Lois, because in honor of Margot, because I wanted her to have Lois Lane's name. So hopefully she'll grow up to be as feisty and stubborn as Lois Lane in the movies, which would be awesome.
Okay. What's your opinion about how superheroes are portrayed in movies versus comics?
People always slate things. They're always negative about how films are portrayed, like characters. The way I look at it is so like, for example, the old Man of Steel movie and Superman Returns and all that lot. We've all got an impression of what Superman is in our minds. When you're reading a comic, you're looking at pictures, you're reading that comic, you're in your head making that comic come alive. You're imagining that storyboard is it is come alive, because that's what the movies is really. The movies start with a selection of storyboards, so it starts with a comic in theory, but then that director, so you as you're reading that comic, is coming up with that movie in your head on what you're gonna imagine that comic being like. As you're reading it, you're using your imagination. So when people slate Man of Steel and Superman Returns and Batman versus Superman, it's because in their mind they wanted to see it differently, and we shouldn't be doing that, because Zack Snyder, I think, did an awesome job. And
He did.
hashtag release the Snyder cut, definitely, because when Josh Whedon came in, it all went to pot. I mean, come on, who would put Superman in there with a CGI mustache taken off? It just looked odd, and you could tell there was something not right with his face. But yeah, I mean, it's all down to the person reading the comic. I think they do a good job. Don't get me wrong. Superman the movie, released in 1978 with Christopher Reeve, was the first Superman movie released, of its kind. It paved the way for everything that we see now. And what they did in that movie was groundbreaking. I mean, they used technology that wasn't necessarily available. Definitely like the Zoptic pro, where you've got the person in front, so he'll be flying, he'll be on like a gimbal, and then the image behind him would move to make him look like he was going upside down. I mean, if you're not sure of that process, if you Google it, it's amazing what they did in that movie. And you'll believe a man could fly, and in that movie, you did. I mean, I spoke to Colin Chilvers, who was the Oscar-winning special effects director. He won an Oscar for that movie, and I spoke to him in a previous podcasting interview about a month and a half ago, and the stuff he was saying was amazing on what they were using at the time. And then, going forwards to like Man of Steel, I think it's awesome. I mean, it's keeping it alive. I think, the movies has got better. I'm looking forward to what's going to happen next. I mean, obviously, Superman has taken a back seat at the moment. Well, to be honest, every film has taken a back seat at the moment in the way of production, which I'm quite concerned on how it's going to affect the industry, because a lot of people are complaining about having to pay, to watch movies, because obviously the studios are releasing movies now at home that you pay $15 for or $20 for. So instead of going to the cinemas, like, is it Bloodshot with Vin Diesel, you can watch that now. So people are complaining to having to pay, but obviously they need to understand the studios are going to lose money if people don't pay to watch them while at home.
Exactly.
But who knows? I mean, I suppose it will give a bit of time for Robert Pattinson to put a bit more bulk on for Batman, because I know that was one of the main things. Because I'm speaking to a stuntman in the next couple of weeks called Rocky Taylor, that has just been working on Batman. So he's a precision driver. So he's worked on everything from Safe House with Ryan Reynolds and Denzel Washington to Fast and Furious. He's an awesome stunt guy. He's doubled for Sean Connery in all the Bond movies. So I'm going to ask him about Batman and see what I can get out of him, because I'm sure that he will be on a non-disclosure agreement. Yeah,
most likely. But I watch quite a bit of movies, and since they started doing superhero movies, I honestly believe that they've gotten way better. I believe. I honestly, I think that's just that more of the actors and directors are become more of a fan of the hero that they're portraying.
Yeah, definitely.
And they want to do that hero justice.
Yeah,
so
definitely. You can see that with people like Ryan Reynolds, with Deadpool, and and Hugh Jackman.
He's a
Sorry, he's what?
He's a good fit for Deadpool.
I know. Well, the first time he was Deadpool, wasn't a fan, to be honest, because he was in Wolverine, weren't he? With Hugh Jackman. He played Deadpool in that, but it wasn't the Vision that we see now.
It was X-Men Origins
That's
Wolverine,
it. Yeah,
if I remember right.
Yeah. I wasn't a fan of his Deadpool in that.
That was actually the very first. I believe that was the first portrayal of Deadpool in like comics wise. I believe that's how Deadpool was. At first,
it's an awesome character. It really is, and what they did for the movies was awesome because, the movie studios are so concerned about making movies so accessible to all ages. I think was ruining it. But Deadpool, because obviously the rating, I don't know what the rating was in the States or where you are, but I think it was
rated R.
Yeah, which is nice because it gives us something to watch and enjoy without it being all fluffy and nice. But my only concern is with the new superhero movies that are coming out is that there's way too much CGI. I think it's taken away from the character acting. It's taken away from the story as such because studios are more concerned about the big battles and the big effects. And, I think we're distancing ourselves from being invested in that character. But that's my opinion. Don't get me wrong. I think they're fantastic what they do with CGI now. But a great example is look at Star Wars. So Star Wars, the original three, with Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher, and
they didn't have.
Sorry,
they didn't have CGI.
No. They had certain effects, obviously for the lightsabers, but everything was near enough, real world. They did a lot of the stuff, a lot of the stuff on set, and that made it seem a lot more believable. I mean, the miniature work on that was awesome, with the spaceships and the X-wings and everything like that. But then you go on to like the most recent Star Wars, and it's just literally. Well, actually, no, the recent Star Wars aren't that bad. I think it's when you went into like the Phantom Menace set of movies. I think CGI was was.
The CGI was a little bit off in those, I believe.
Hey, funny story for you. Star Wars, my wife, her great auntie was in Star Wars. She was in the original.
Oh, wow.
So the cantina scene. Do you know the character that has got like a head like a bat? That plays Cabe?
Yeah.
So that was done half by Hilda Cohen, who was my wife's great auntie, and half by Rusty Coffey, that was an actor that was in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. So, but she was she was on the movie, and she did a lot of stuff, with other films. But yeah, she was on that movie, and Rusty Coffey was saying, that how halfway through filming she got uncomfortable in that head, so that's why he took over. And she was only 3 foot and 1 inch tall. But she was all in proportion, which was really weird. But my wife is like 5 foot odd. So lucky for me. Yeah.
Wow.
So some really good connections there. So I think CGI, is great and the effects are fantastic, but they need to be careful with them. They really, really do. But yeah.
Okay. You mentioned that you have a podcast. What all can we expect in the future of your
So
podcast?
on Be More Super, the podcast, it's my aim to bring everything entertainment, interviews, reviews, and everything like that to the masses. I did an interview today with a wonderful lady called Kerry. With all the conventions that are shutting down for the time being until later in the year, we're all getting a bit cabin fever around the conventions. So Kerry started a wonderful thing that's worldwide. Anyone could take part, and it's called Virtual Con. So it's a virtual Comic-Con. So if you look on my Facebook page, you'll actually see a link on it. And I'm actually running a competition at the moment alongside of the convention, the virtual Comic-Con. So what's going to happen on the 26th of April, anyone you buy a ticket. So I think it's like £2. So I don't know what that relates to in dollars. So it's about $3, I should imagine. And you get exclusive access. You get exclusive access to this online convention. They've got guests. They've got special. They've got special guests there. They've got competitions throughout the day. They've got giveaways. They've got competitions like cosplay competitions and everything like that. So I did an interview with her today for that. Then in the next coming week, I've got Thomas Jane, who played the Punisher with John Travolta. He was in The Mist and The Expanse. He's been in Deep Blue Sea. He was in as well. So I'm going to be interviewing him, which is pretty exciting. And then the week after, I've got good old John Schneider, Bo Duke from Dukes of Hazzard, and he was in Smallville as Jonathan Kent. So I'm interviewing him the week after. And then coming up in the next month or so, I've got Keith Sutherland. I've got the cast of the Superman and Lois show. I've got LaMonica Garrett as well, that played the Anti-Monitor in the recent DC crossover, the Crisis one. So yeah, it's exciting times. But the giveaway that I'm doing alongside Virtual Con, my official sponsors, which are Prop Store of London, we're giving away a production used storyboard from the 1984 movie Supergirl. So this is worth in dollars wise, well over $300. So literally, to enter the competition, all you've got to do is hop onto my Facebook page. So just put Be More Super into Facebook, it'll pop up. And literally all you've got to do is share the post, like the page, and put a hashtag Prop Store in the comments below the post. That's it. And then on the 24th of April, I'll be announcing the winner live. And it will get shipped directly to you from Prop Store of London. So it's a great price. You don't have to pay anything to enter. And you just need to share the post and share the love. And it's all exciting times. I'm going to be doing a lot more giveaways as well.
How long is this going
for? So this is
again?
up to the 26th of April. So Virtual Comic-Con is happening on the 26th of April that I'm promoting at the moment with them. So I thought that I'll do the giveaway on that day.
All right, I'll make sure to have a link to her Facebook in the description.
Excellent. Thank you.
It's been amazing talking to you. I've learned quite a bit, honestly.
We haven't even covered movie props yet. So if you ever want to chat, want to chat in the future, give me a shout. Because again, if you've got any listeners that are after anything that's been production used, screen used in their favorite movie or TV show, get in contact, and I can steer them in the right direction to actually get genuine pieces.
Yeah, I'll make sure to have you on again. Man, it's been awesome talking to you. Well, I hope you have a good one, and I'll make sure to keep in touch with you.
You too, and keep safe. I'm sure this will all blow over very, very soon. We've just got to keep the social distancing and keep positive and happy. And I'm sure with your wonderful podcast, you're going to bring a lot of people joy and escapism from what's happening, outside.
Well, it's been awesome talking to you. I'll have a link to your podcast and to your Facebook in the description. So if my wants to check you out, they can. And you have a wonderful and safe day.
You too. All right, mate. You too, mate.
Good talking to you.